Hey Track Gang, what's going on in this week's episode of the Boeville in Newtown? Well, it's right over here. Stand by and we'll get into what's happening this week. Hello, Track Gang, and welcome to episode 7, or what's actually going to end up being part 2 of the bridge rebuild, as it were. I wasn't going to do this because I'm actually doing Sidetrack Sunday tonight, and I actually had the camera set up to do a dusk shot tonight, but I'll reset it before I get there. But anyway, wanted to kind of show you what's going on. So like I said, we're on to part 2 of the of this wonderful, and it happens to be February 26th. Like I said, this is episode 7 for 2023. So we're gonna swing down to the table here. Hopefully it's showing up. So what I just got finished doing is marking on the sides of the rail where I want to cut the ties, because obviously what I did the last time, and it worked out really well, was to keep keep the rail longer than the actual bridge deck and slide the one set of the ties out and get rid of the ties that are in between that are going to be in the way of the bridge deck, and then put the rails on, and then put the short section of ties that on the one end back on. So I wanted to kind of show this. I think I did this when I built the bridge the first time, but I kind of figured we'll go ahead and we'll dig into this. And I'll show you exactly what it is that we're going, or how we're going to do this. So like I said, I've already cut the new section of Pico Flex Track to length, because I want these to be identical. Why? It's not critical, but I figure this way, if they're identical and I accidentally swap something when I'm taking the bridge apart to do scenery work or whatever, I don't have to worry about making sure that I put one deck back, and they'll be interchangeable. So like I said, I marked the side of the rail here, and what I'm going to do is I see where that mark is. And it should be 11 ties. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 ties. Okay, so that tie has to stay. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our plastic nippers and we're going to cut the tie strip at the 11th tie on both sides. And then hopefully, if I cut it all the way through, there it goes, I should be able to slide these 11 ties out of the way. And like I said, I need to save these because they're going to have to go back on once I get finished sliding this big section out of the way. So on the other side, it's actually 16 ties. Why? I have no idea why I did it that way, but that's the way it is. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So the 16th tie stays, and the same thing, we're going to just nip the end of it off, and then hopefully, if I've done this right, this whole section should now slide out. And of course, this is a little tedious. Sliding this whole section out of here, and of course I'm sure I'm gonna end up with a mess, and it all looks like I'm already there. I have to make sure I'm holding the rails in place here, because otherwise it's going to want to slide off the ties that I want to keep. which isn't a problem. I can slide them back in, but it just makes it more of a pain in the butt later. And like I said, this is the tedious part of this, is trying to get the this whole rail section out of here without causing myself too much hate and discontentment in the process. Like I said, it's already causing me some issues here. And it may come down to where I'm going to have to lose those 16 ties on the other end, but that's okay. If they come off, it's not the end of the world. They're basically there just to make sure that I keep things somewhat in alignment when I go to lay them on the bridge deck. And like I said, this is not this is not coming apart the way I was hoping. And you'd think I'd remember that from the last time, that this was a pain in the butt, but it is what it is. So let's see if we can grab the rails here and keep this from causing a problem. We got a couple ties off. That's not what I wanted to do. They just snapped out down here. It's not a huge deal, but I'm trying to save the tie strips just in case I need them for something. Because you never know when you're going to need the ties. And as somebody had pointed out a long time ago, that I had a lot of gaps on the railroad where I didn't put ties in, and I've been trying to make sure that I save anything that I cut out. And this here is just going to help in that regard, if I can keep these strips in place. I'm hoping I'm not bending the rail too much either. I'm trying just to hold on to it and not knock it out of gauge too bad. Obviously, when it goes onto the bridge deck, oh, wasn't that lovely? There's one tie strip. And that means the second tie, so the tie strips might come out a little easier. And there we go. All right. So I've now got my tie strip out from underneath the rails. And now what I can do is I can actually line up on the bridge deck. Again, trying to keep things somewhat uniform here. As I say, somewhat uniform. And I can see that this is actually slid a little too close, but that's okay. We can work with that. All right. So now it's just going to be putting the rail into the bridge deck, which, from what I remember, is a bit of a pain. And this is being exactly that. And of course, I got the new section in and took the old section out. Now, conventional wisdom would be like, well, why don't you just tack in the first set of ties, so that way you don't have to worry about knocking things out of alignment again, which probably would be the better way to go. But that's okay. We'll get there. In fact, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to try, pardon the dog, she apparently sees another dog outside. Trying to get these as close as possible. Like I said, I'm trying to make these two decks interchangeable. And I'm just kind of laying these in here at the moment. Obviously, I need to come back and either tack them down or do like I did on the other bridge and actually glue the rail to the deck. That's how it was done the last time, because unfortunately, if you all remember, I was trying to use a flex track that was not fitting into the tie strips very easily or at all, and come to find out I had some sort of foreign flex track, and it just was not playing well with the bridge deck. So I ended up having to glue the rails in place. And I think, looking at this thus far, this is going to work out perfectly. The two decks are going to be identical from what I can see at this point, which is exactly what that's a case of the exactlies. That's exactly what I was looking for. And they end up in the same place, pretty much. It's interesting that one set of tie strips, the new set of ties, is a little longer no, it's just where the ties end up. That's interesting. Central Valley has something very unique going on here. I see that the ties, for the most part, are lining up, but not 100%. They're going to be close enough. Where it shouldn't be an issue, but it's not 100%. But we'll work with it. I think we're going to be okay from what it looks like. So that's basically it. Like I said, now I'm going to go ahead and actually tack these in place, and I'll get to that, and we'll go from there. All right, Track Gang, well, I just found something rather fascinating. And that is the fact that the deck that I have for the old bridge doesn't fit on the deck for the new bridge. That is really interesting to me, that these are that different. So that means that whatever I do with the new bridge doesn't make a difference. I have to keep it the way it is. Wish I would have known that before I started cutting everything up, but that's fine. It's not a huge deal. But one thing I do need to do is, before I move on, I have to glue the ends on the old bridge, so that way I make sure that the alignment, even though it doesn't really matter, I just want to make sure that the alignment is going to be close. So that's what I'm going to do, and we'll be back. All right, Track Gang. Everybody... I tell you, I really do appreciate all the comments and all that I got last night on Sidetrack Sunday about the bridge, and a lot of great questions came up. A lot of, are you sure that everything's going to line up? Are you sure you're not going to have an issue with this, that, the other? So we're here at the layout because I actually, after the show last night, I repaired the original bridge deck because that was the one that came apart on me when I dropped it. So as you can see, everything lines up. Now, the issue that we talked about last night is down in between the two decks. And I'm going to try and do this hopefully without shaking things too much. And I'm not even sure if I can get in close enough to actually show. Yeah, you can kind of, it's going to be hard to see because of the fact that I don't have the other side painted yet. But there is a gap between the two decks, and I just noticed that one of the things that I still have to do, and I still don't know exactly how I want to handle it yet, is the fact that the strengtheners for the new bridge are longer than the bridge. So I've either got to make a little bit of a modification to the foam that's up underneath of here, or I need to cut them back. Considering the fact of how fragile these bridges are, I really don't know if I really want to mess with cutting that metal back. So I think what I might end up doing is just cutting a notch out of the foam. I obviously have to now, and it's not even on camera. Okay, over here I have to add some foam because I originally cut this out. Because if you remember, my bridge was originally on the front. I'm like, no, I don't want it on the front because it's I'd rather have it in the back. So with that, I decided, to cut the foam so that way I can make the other bridge, which I don't even have over here, fit. Any rate, I have not run a train across this yet. But like I said, I think what I'm going to do, and I'm going to take you all back to the table for a minute, and I'll show you what my thoughts are with this. So hang tight. All right, I'm doing something here that I know I shouldn't, and that is zooming in while recording. Anyway, what the plan is to... That wasn't nice. Oh, come on. Seriously? Is to take some of these that I've got extras of and glue them on the side of the bridge deck like this to kind of hide that gap. And there should be plenty of room here for that to sit. Now, originally, like I said, I had planned on gluing the two pieces or the two bridge decks together, but considering the fact of how far apart they are, I'm not going to do that. So I'm going to glue these on this, and they're going to sit independent. So that's what the plan is. We'll see how well that works, if it works at all. Alright, track gang, so here's a new look for you. Folks were wondering about the alignment. Well, there you go. The alignment is really good. I'm not sure if I've shown it earlier, but I figured this way would really send it home. Now, one of the things I can show you really, well, maybe if I bring the tripod with me, because now I can get real close. You can see those, well, not so much there, but the gaps that I was talking about between the two bridges. Now, I ran into another issue. As you can see, we've got the blackjack sitting down here, and if I turn around, we've got the Mantua 210 or 282 sitting over here. Now I'm going to stop for a second because I want I want to show something that we've talked about before. What I want to talk about is the original bridge that I built, the original 150-foot Central Valley Model Works bridge. I talked about it in the past that I wasn't happy with the bridge, and I thought that I had it fixed. What I'm talking about is the fact that this thing has got some flex to it. Now, granted, I don't have it together, but even when I didn't have it together before, I didn't have this issue, and I'm not going to run it. I'm just going to sit this thing over here. Watch this sucker deflect. It is bending quite a bit, quite noticeably. So what I've done for the meantime is just set that up underneath the center of it to kind of help hold it in place to where it's not going to bend and flex on me. I've got some ideas as to how I'm going to fix it. Now, we have to remember two things here. Number one, that Mantua 282, I keep saying 210, it's a 282, is die cast. The thing weighs 1 pound 12 ounces. Basically, it's a 2-pound locomotive. The next heaviest locomotive is the Blackjack, believe it or not. And this thing weighs 1 pound 7 ounces. And the rear bridge doesn't flex anywhere near as much as the front bridge. And I think it has to do with the way the stiffeners are set up on this bridge, where they're to the outside, and it's two of them, where this one here has only got the one down the middle. What I'm thinking of doing, I've got a couple of ideas. The first one is going to be getting a piece of C channel or U channel, depending on how you want to look at it. This is something that Tony Custer brought up years ago, is actually getting a piece of C channel and actually putting it up underneath of this thing to where that channel would be up inside the bridge. You wouldn't see it. But it gives you the stability because it's going to be all the way across. I have to see if I can find something. I know Home Depot sells it. I know Lowe's sells it. I just have to make sure that it's wide enough and it's actually narrow enough to get so it isn't laying behind or under the bridge. That's one possibility. Another possibility would be to get sheet aluminum, and I'm not talking the real thin stuff. I'm talking 18 or an eighth of an inch, and actually just like the bars are on that back bridge, doing the same thing on the front bridge. That would require a little bit more work and probably taking the deck apart again to do it, where if I got the C channel, the only thing I have to do is cut some slots in it, put the thing up underneath, and we're done. This weekend, I think, is going to tell the tale of that. So that's kind of where we're at right now. All right, Track Gang. So for the moment, until I get up to Home Depot, it was going to be a part of, I guess it's not going to be a part of part 3. There's no point in me messing with the truss until I figure out how I'm going to fix this sag, bend, whatever you want to call it, issue on this bridge. There's really no point in moving forward. I mean, I've got that piece of foam rock wall that I put up underneath of there. That will hold for the moment. That gives it enough stability that if I get to the point where I'm going to run trains, which is something I'm probably, since I'm not going to be able to work on the bridge too much here, I'm thinking about bringing the one box of locomotives that I was going to work on, bringing them out here so I can work on them and then go from there. But that is what it is. I do want to make mention of it now, before I forget it again, that there is going to be a... Oh, it was zoomed all the way out. Okay. I'm going to do a mini-meet. in April. I know Sparky's got the big meet going on in May. I cannot make that one. I know that Nathan DeLay's got one coming up in March. That one happens to be the same. That the one. Let me back up a minute. So Nathan DeLay has one coming up at Northlands, up in New Jersey. That's the weekend, or that's going to be on March 11th. That's a Saturday. Unfortunately, I can't make that. That happens to be my wife's birthday, and that would not be a good thing. So I will not be making it to Northlands. And obviously, with the big trip that the wife and I took, I'm not going to be able to make it out to Greeley. So Sparky's big meet and greet, I think it's like the 18th, 19th, 20th, 21st, something like that. That big meet and greet, I'm not going to be able to make that. I apologize. That just wasn't in the cards. So what I am going to do instead is there is another train show coming here to the Maryland State Fair, the Timonium Fairgrounds. It's the spring show, as I call this one. This one here happens to be the end of April. I believe it's the 28th and 29th, or the 29th and 30th. I'll put a link below. I know that there was a couple of folks that were interested in meeting up at Timonium. I think it was Uncle Wilmer and somebody else had mentioned about it. So I do plan on making that show. And again, if anybody comes down for that show and wants to come after the show, come over here and hang out at the Boeville in Newtown for a couple hours, that shouldn't be a problem. So I will definitely firm up that date. It's not going to be like let me go ahead and put something else out there. This isn't going to be like the October show. This is just a mini meet. It's if you can, you can. If you can't, you can't. No big deal. The big fall meet will again be the Timonium Fairgrounds. That one there is the first weekend in October. I believe it's the 4th and 5th or something like that. Again, I've got the link to the Great Scale Model Train Show. I'll have that down below. That will be the bigger meet. Still not sure what we're going to do. We will meet up for the train show. That's a given. That will happen on that Saturday. And then Sunday, I'm going to leave it open again. Whether we go back down to the B&O Railroad Museum, if we go over to the Baltimore Streetcar Museum, if we do both, who knows? I know that there was some other folks that were trying to help out and get some things together. If that all comes to fruition, I will let you know. I don't know how that would work out, but we'll see. But regardless, we got a bunch of things coming up. There's a few meet and greets coming. You've got, like I said, March 11th over at Northlands. That's Nathan DeLay. The end of April will be a mini meet with me at the Timonium Train Show. And then the big one that Sparky's putting on up at Greeley, that's the like I said, I think it's like the 20th, 21st, or the 21st, 22nd of May. And then our big one, as far as I'm concerned, on the East Coast, will again be the Timonium Train Show in October. And like I said, that more things will be coming out with that as we progress. But for right now, you all know the deal. Wait for the high ball. Green tracks ahead. We'll catch you all next time. Be safe. God bless. We will see you.